Hey, what is going on, comic book familia? This is Ephraim Passport Comics, and I binge watch all 5 episodes of Echo on Disney Plus. It just was released today. This video is probably not going to come out until the next day. I normally do not binge watch TV shows. I like taking my time, but the main reason I did, because recently, let's face it, some of these Marvel movies and TV shows haven't been as popular, or they really got to as popular as previous shows. But I wanted to binge watch this, but I wanted to give it my full attention and watch it all at once and give you my thoughts of what I thought about the series. So overall, I did enjoy this series. I like street level stories. I did a short today talking about Echo. Hopefully, it would be a good series. And I said I was going to do a review, and this is basically the review. When Netflix had control, so to speak, of Daredevil, Punisher, The Defenders, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and even Iron Fist, I liked these shows because they were street level and they seemed more real than, I'm not knocking, obviously, all the Avengers movies that came out, and the Spider-Man and Iron Man movies. I really enjoyed them. But these street level heroes, and if you have seen my previous videos, Daredevil is one of my favorite heroes. So that being said, that's why I binge watch this series, but I wanted to get the full effect of it all at once. So episode 1 basically starts off with a bang. They show a little bit recap of her journey so far, how she finds out all about Kingpin that killed her father. But before that, like about 10 minutes into the show, Daredevil shows up, and it's a quick, so to speak, cameo with Daredevil. I went, oh boy, they're starting out fast. Normally, I thought Daredevil would show up like in maybe episode 3 or 4, but no, he's there really quick. He battles Echo, and it's like a standoff, and then he's gone, But then also in episode 1, Ronan or Hawkeye shows up, but this is almost like a recap of what happened to her previously in the Hawkeye series, where he tells her, hey, don't believe everything that's told you. And he tells her, Kingpin basically killed your father. And then it goes a little bit further after that, where she, confronts Kingpin and she shoots him in the eye, and she thinks he's dead. So she basically leaves New York City, because once they find out that she killed Kingpin, she knows they're going to go after her. So she ends up back in Oklahoma to her hometown, because, the NYC, New York City Underground, they're going to come after her for killing Kingpin. But that's basically what happens in episode number 1. But also in episode number 1, when she ends back in her hometown, she starts getting like some flashbacks of her ancestry and her powers, and it goes from there. Then episode 2, she basically takes the fight to Kingpin in New York City. She knows they're going to come after her, so she does a preemptive strike, so to speak. She gets on a train that she knows is going, that has some, I guess I would say, weapons. They don't exactly show what it is, that's going to Kingpin, but she booby traps the whole thing. And once it gets to New York, to the warehouse, they open up one of the boxes, and it just has a bomb in it, and it explodes, and it destroys the whole building that has, all of Kingpin's weaponry, so to speak. So they know something's up and somebody's after Kingpin. So that's basically episode number 2. And then episode number 3, there's some hitmen that come to her hometown in Tamaha, and they capture her, and they're basically going to kill her and her grandmother, and not her grandmother, I apologize, her cousin and her uncle. They capture all 3 of them, and then they take her to her uncle owns a roller rink, so they take her there. They capture her, they give her some knockout gas, and then she wakes up. But then, she fights against them, and she gets the upper hand on the people who are out to kill her. And the last minute, but they do capture her, and they're about to kill her and some of her family. But then the lead mobster, so to speak, or the lead bad guy, gets a phone call, and they let them go. That's when you start to think, and you knew Kingpin was not dead. So he calls him and says, let her go. I just wanted to make sure she was there. And then the last episode, the last scene of episode 3, she, Echo is released and she goes to her car, and lo and behold, Kingpin is there. And then that's where episode 3 ends. Episode 4 is almost like another part of her origin story because it flashes back how Kingpin took care of her, how she called him uncle. Kingpin always watched out for her when she was a little girl. And there was this one scene where she's coming out of school and she's trying to buy some ice cream from a vendor, and the vendor was very mean to her, wanted her to speak, but we all know Echo cannot speak, but she's deaf and she doesn't speak. And then Kingpin witnesses the whole thing, and he basically pummels this guy and just throws him in an alleyway and starts beating him up, and he's all bloodied up. And then he calls one of his people. He goes, hey, get me a new jacket. I don't want Maya to see me like this. But lo and behold, little Maya, she's only about 6 or 7 years old. She sees him, what Kingpin did to this ice cream vendor. And what Maya does is basically go up to the guy that's already pummeled by Kingpin, and she kicks him a couple of times, just to say, hey, don't mess with me or don't mess with Kingpin. Then they walk hand in hand out of the alleyway. So that made it seem that Kingpin had control over Maya, that she saw him as like a father figure and not the monster that we all know that he was. So it's basically a crossroads about her, episode 4, learning more about her past. She does confront Kingpin, and Kingpin ask her, hey, come back to New York with me. Let's make things right. You belong with me in New York. And she didn't say she was going back to New York with him, but Kingpin says, I'll be waiting for you in my plane, for us to go back to our life. But at the end, Maya doesn't go back to New York. And then Kingpin basically flips out. He's in the plane and he's just like, almost seems like he's going to tear up the plane, because Kingpin always, whatever Kingpin wants, he gets. But Maya said, no, I'm not going back with you. And that was episode 4. And then episode 5, Kingpin is starting to get his revenge against Maya for not returning with him to New York. So he kidnaps her grandmother and her cousin. Oh, her cousin, by the way, is the actress Bonnie. She played Bonnie in the show, and the actress name is Devery Jacobs, and who also played the voice of Kahori in the latest What If season 2. I think it was episode 6. So her cousin was also an actress in Echo and the What If series. So in episode 5, it's all coming together. A big fight is going to ensue. Kingpin, like I said, kidnaps Echo's grandmother and cousin, and he's there's a powwow going on, like a celebration, and he has his henchmen, and they're gonna basically kill everybody there for his revenge because Echo didn't go back with him to New York City. And then Echo finds out what Kingpin is up to, and she goes to go look for her grandmother, but she's not there. But her mother shows up, like a spirit form of her mother. Her mother had magical powers. Her whole ancestry had magical powers, and she had like healing powers. And her mother, speaks to her saying, hey, basically choose the right path. We've always been here. We've always been here with you, all your ancestries. We are echoes of you. And that's where, hence she gets the name Echo. And so she ends up going to the powwow, Echo, and she finds Kingpin, and he's telling her basically, I'm not going back with you. You killed my father, but he's basically says, if you're not coming back with me, I'm going to kill your grandmother and I'm going to kill your cousin. But by then, Echo realizes that she does have some type of mystical powers, and she shares it with her grandmother and her cousin. And the fight scene, I was expecting more at the end, to be honest with you, because she gave some of her mystical powers to her relatives, and they beat up the bad guys. And then there was going to be a standoff between her and Kingpin, Wilson Fisk. To be honest, I was expecting a little bit more during their fight scene, but she realized that she had healing powers like her mom did. And instead of fighting Kingpin, she basically, there was some type of she basically put her fingers on Kingpin's head, and it made him remember his youth and how his father used to beat his mother. And it basically tried to have him get that hatred out of him, the hatred he held for his father, who basically, all because of that, he became the Kingpin. But it almost seems like Kingpin couldn't handle him being at peace with himself, and he fought against it. And at the end, he said, "What did you do to me?" She tried to make him forget and to let go of the past and to be just a better person and a happier person. But deep down, Kingpin couldn't do that, I believe. And he left, all in disarray, saying, "Whoa, you really messed me up." So that's basically the show. And they show Echo reuniting with her family, making peace with herself, and not be so angry of how her mother died and how her father died. And then there was the ending credits. And normally in Marvel Cinematic movies, they always have an extra scene, and lo and behold, they did. So basically, on the plane, there's a TV on, and then there's the news. He's watching it. There's a mayoral race in New York City, and none of the candidates seem to be, gaining the public's trust. They need an outsider, somebody who's, who's not a, lifelong politician. And Kingpin is looking at this, and there's going to be a continuation, because in the comic books, Kingpin did become mayor of New York City. So it looks like it's leading towards that path. But overall, I really enjoyed this series. Like I said, I like street level heroes, and I like the gritty realism of this show. When they show somebody getting shot, they show blood, and when somebody's getting beat up, it just wasn't like a regular Marvel movie where somebody gets beat up and they don't show much graphic violence. And I do like a little bit of violence when I watch these shows. So that's why it reminded me more of the Netflix series, Daredevil, Punisher, and like I said, and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. So hopefully this is, Marvel realizes that they have to, gain our trust and just show good movies and TV shows, and we'll come back and we'll enjoy them. Because that's what it's all about, basically, just us enjoying these shows. I'm grateful that we have that we have the opportunity to watch these shows. So like I said, this is a quick, review of Echo. I hope you like this. Until next time, everyone, this is Ephraim Passpoint Comics. You know what to do. If you like what you see, hit that like, subscribe, and notification button. Everybody be safe and take care.